So good afternoon, everyone. This is the second day of post IIGF workshops. Uh, Today is 22nd December. We started from 9:30 a.m. today. We did 3 workshops. This is the final workshop for the day, which is on democratization of internet. And this workshop is going to be moderated by Mr. K.S. Rao, who is the CEO of Network Software and Services Business at STL. Mr. Rao has got a huge experience in terms of the businesses, what he has been leading till now. And in his correct role as CEO of Network Software and Services at STL, he is engaged into designing, building, and managing digital networks, which enables directly to do activities and has got far-reaching impact on people lives. And I think from that standpoint, democratization of internet is a very apt topic, which he can definitely moderate and bring different perspectives onto the table. So without much ado, I'll request Mr. Rao to take over the floor and introduce his panelist as he moves along the discussion, and then take the key outcomes. Just an administrative announcement that tomorrow at 3 p.m. we are going to have a valedictory session. We are expecting Secretary Mighty to be there. And in case, Mr. Rao, you want to make some kind of announcement on the key outcomes of this discussion, you will possibly have 2 to 3 minutes to say that what the discussion happened, and finally what are the key things which happened as part of this workshop. So with this, I'll give the floor to you, Mr. Rao, and looking forward to a very engaging discussion and a lot of learnings and sharing of experiences. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Rao.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anupam, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning, good evening to other colleagues across globe. Welcome to this session, and I must compliment India Internet Governance Forum to picking up this subject. The theme of the discussion today is accelerating democratization of high-speed internet from 3 aspects: availability, accessibility, and affordability of quality broadband for all. It's a very interesting subject. So before I introduce eminent panelists for the today's session, so let me put certain insights from my perspective, then we can take the discussion forward. As you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us many lessons, and the crisis has exposed the gaps that still exist in the digital access system. And we all know that when essential services such as health and education, and including simply being connected as professionally, the activity was depending largely on connectivity, but that is where the inequalities became exacerbated. So this is a situation that we have faced in the last couple of years. I think this brings to the point that we've been talking for years, that there remains a divide in access in high-speed fixed and mobile connectivity. This is the core present reality. Even among fixed and broadband subscribers, many do not get sufficient speeds for effective remote work and making the telemedicine various applications very efficient and effective. I think the point is not only the coverage point. I think there is a bigger divide in adoption, where those coverage may not be actually use the internet due to lack of adaptability, digital adoption, the skills that are required, even in the context like in India, the relevant skills that are required in the local language. These are the current challenges that the industry is actually facing. Furthermore, I think if you look at the democratic divide, the rural population is facing several challenges in terms of accessing fundamental services like education, healthcare, access to jobs. This is a predominant problem in the country. Just for your information, that statistics shows that 38% of rural population has access to secondary schools versus 70% urban population. There is a huge divide in education, rights to have an education. And also, if you look at the healthcare, 75% of the healthcare infrastructure is concentrated in urban areas, whereas less than 30% actually is focusing on Indian rural population. So there is a divide that needs to be addressed. So this lack of infrastructure in rural areas is leading to urban and a rural divide. That's predominantly we see across all the debates happening in today's world. And this divide is in India is so prominent that the income of an average person, if you compare with a rural citizen versus an urban citizen is actually earning at least double than what rural citizen is earning. So digital infrastructure is very key in enabling these sectors, fundamental services, and also opportunities for rural India. That's where this becomes a very important topic today. I'm sure that government has been putting a lot of efforts in addressing this rural-urban digital divide. Still, that continues to exist. And I think this is something that a very important area for that government continue to focus on it. According to an estimate, I think we have seen that if you invest in 1% GDP in a digital infrastructure, you will get at least 2% of GDP growth. It's going to be a multiplying impact on the economic growth of the country. In addition to that, it also creates a lot of positive correlation between quality of physical infrastructure leads to productivity, jobs creation, and so and so on. So there is a huge level of a correlation that we can see in investing digital infrastructure. I think the point is that unequal access to information and communication technologies has led to digital divide in the country. There is a need to improve the reach of this digital infrastructure across the country. That's a moot point. And the need of the hour is to promote infrastructure and technology which are best suited for a country like us, especially focusing the rural connectivity of the country. I think there is a need to bring and develop an innovative options in addressing this digital divide as we move forward. I think there's no doubt that promotion of telecommunication or digital infrastructure in the rural India is the most important condition for bridging the rural and urban divide as we see today. I think the most important aspect of this entire thing is to have a bare minimum robust digital infrastructure. Rest other requirements will fall in place. That's a strong belief I carry. And I think today's session will definitely emphasize on certain insights around these aspects and including policy bottlenecks, probably that can accelerate the role of broadband infrastructure to provide quality broadband connectivity and mechanism to harmonize the government initiatives to make sure that the initiatives are focused on large-scale broadband rollout within the country and alignment with the linear assets as well as bottlenecks that the 5G evaluation or rollout will have to face in the time to come in. So let me introduce, we have eminent panelists today and from different backgrounds, and all of them will going to definitely provide certain insights into this whole topic, which is interesting for all of us. First of all, let me welcome Lieutenant General Dr. S.P. Kochhar and Director General COAI. And I don't need to tell him that about him, General Kochhar, that he has led the communication division of that Indian Defense Army site when he was in service. But I think he joined us COI Association in extending his experience and expertise in making the policies rightly set for the country. So, General Kochhar, just wanted to bring certain aspect that I think looking at, let's say, overall NDCP 2018, I think it's been a very focal point for the changing telecom infrastructure to digital infrastructure. It envisaging the providing universal broadband connectivity of at least 100 Mbps to every citizen. I think this is the main motive of this entire NDCP 2018. And also, I think various developments are aligned towards achieving that. I think this would require a strategic thought, policy interventions and thought leadership and substantial investments in fiberization to do this, including fixed line broadband networks as well as associated digital infrastructure. However, India is facing through an associated with poor planning and implementation of the digital infrastructure framework for years together. The issues related to cross-sector collaboration, infrastructure creation and sharing, and use of electric poles for application of aerial installations, including ROW, which is a major point of discussion in the infrastructure creation, has been impediments for these kind of, let's say, digital infrastructure growth. Just want to take your views, sir, in terms of how government can address some of these policy bottlenecks related to digital infrastructure creation, mainly focusing on infra sharing as well as right of way, to ensure the broadband infrastructure gets rolled out at the pace at which country needs. So what you, Kocha?
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Very interesting question, and let me start by saying that NDCP was the first time when industry and the government got together to bring out a policy which is acceptable to both industry and the government. And it sets out a very clear guideline, which is often quoted more by industry and less by the government at this point of time. Pardon my saying, but I would not quite agree with you that not much is being done. Recent years have shown that a lot of effort is being put in by the government within the constraints that are available. And they are steadfastly marching towards achieving what is laid down in NDCP. And the operators are doing their bit. The recent months, if you look at the recent months, has seen a large number of measures taken by the government in the form of telecom reforms and policy derivatives, which point to this direction very clearly. You rightly said that there has to be a lot of capital infusion for fiberization, for rolling out the networks. Now, that is something which the government has been seized of. And they have gone to the extent of setting up a separate directorate altogether for the National Broadband Mission. So that shows that there is a lot of sincerity on the part of the government. So we can't keep always saying that the government is doing nothing. They are doing a lot of things, but there is, of course, always room to do much more. The second part is the government has also recognized that the industry requires a lot of liquidity, a lot of capital before they can invest into these networks, especially with 5G coming. They understand that there has to be a huge amount of fiberization and towerization. So if you see the entire process of the first phase of telecom reforms has been towards that. The liquidity for the next 4 to 6 years has been improved. We should see a lot of effort happening in that direction now. There are discussions on to see how this can be made into a perpetual increase of capital resources to the industry. Industry has to do its part, government has to do its part, and we are now positively sitting across the table and discussing this, and a lot of things are happening, certainly. The next point you mentioned about was collaborative. If you see Gati Shakti, this is exactly what the government has done. They brought collaboration across the board. So they have taken cognizance of that part also, that quick decisions and collaborative decisions have to be taken. Industry has welcomed it. All our members have welcomed it. And going forward, I think this will help. The point about getting permissions, ROW, etc. Yes, a lot of work requires to be done on that. Not so much by the central government, more by the state governments. Central government has done its part by issuing the guidelines in 2018. But please remember, they are guidelines. So the states are not bound to accept everything that is given in that guideline. So the government has to now take a bold decision and to issue out directives so that these are implementable guidelines. At this point of time, they are not an implementable guideline. Last week, I was with the Deputy CM of Maharashtra trying to explain to them that Maharashtra is suffering because of the illogical charges that are being levied for fiber layout. And he agreed. But then his hands are also tied because our federal government structure is such that on one hand, there is the central government, telecom is central subject, they can adjudicate on that. But the ancillaries to telecom, digging, laying, all this is state government jurisdiction. So they take their own view on these sort of things. And within the state government, at times, even if the state government wants, the municipal and the local governance doesn't permit that, right? And that the state laws are such that it cannot be enforced legally onto the local municipalities, etc., etc. And the reason for that, for them not obeying this, is also not illogical. It is a logical reason. They require revenue to run their establishments, and they find telecom to be a huge revenue source for them. So fortunately now the leadership at the political level has started looking at this very, very seriously. And at the central level, if you see, the Secretary Telecom from last week has started a new process where he is getting into a direct meeting with all the Secretary ITs of the states and trying to impress upon them why this is important. On our part from the industry, we are going and telling them that if you are trying to milk out revenue from us at the grassroots level, at the telecom level, you are going wrong. Because if we give you a robust network across your state or across the country, then the industry which will flourish on top of that telecom network will give you much, much more than what we can give. So don't stop the progress of your particular geography by by missing the woods for the trees. So this is being accepted seriously, and a lot of work has happened on this. Government has come out with a portal, and this portal they are asking the states to implement a similar portal so that there can be interoperability, and later in some point of time it can be interactive portal from state to the central government, maybe up to district level. 2 states have accepted this, they have implemented this. Others are in the process of doing, but 28 states have a portal. This is a good achievement. They have a portal, right? Of course, there will be teething problems. There will be problems of administration. Those things are happening. In some places, portals are. Yeah. So I think I'll stop here because my screen went off and it's come back again. So over to you, Mr. Rao.
You're on mute, Mr. Rao.
Thank you, Mr. Kochhar. That it's very interesting insights, and you brought in this angle about Gati Shakti, how it can actually synchronize the entire planning of 16 ministries, and digital infrastructure is not only relevant for telecommunication. In fact, it is going to be a backbone for the country's development. I'm sure what government has done so far is well appreciated, and I think that rightfully they are thinking in the right direction. All these new initiatives in the last few months and quarters have been really encouraging for all of us. Now I bring the attention to Mr. Kishore Babu, who's been part of the Department of Telecommunications, which is a think tanker of the entire telecommunications and digital infrastructure for the country. Mr. Kishore, just wanted to know from your perspective that what combination of existing and emerging technologies can efficiently play the sustainability of delivering this infrastructure and affordability, as we are talking about connectivity part. And also second dimension is how can public and private sector stimulate this growth together in the industry to accelerate a digital development in underserved regions of the country. So what you, sir, what are your thoughts and insights around this?
Thank you, sir. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, please.
First and foremost, let me thank Broadband India Forum and all the distinguished members who are present here, where I got the opportunity to listen to them as well as their perspectives from industry. I also want to add, when I heard from you as well as General Kochhar about NDCP. So, it was more than a learning experience for me when I was a DDG policy, where we had, a lot of consultation with regard to NDCP in 2017 and 18. I should say that it was an exhilarating, experience for all of us who were in the policy division, that what is that industry wants and what is that we should do from government to facilitate the same enthusiasm as well as the outcomes to the reforms what we are speaking about. Having said that, if you kindly look at the key element what you mentioned about infrastructure, not only the backbone for telecommunication development, but also for the economic growth, it's very, very valid. And I also want to, bring for your kind submission recent announcement by Honorable Minister during the recent CIA summit, where he mentioned about, what's called maximization of revenue versus maximization of services to the masses, especially in the context of making spectrum affordable for rolling out the so-called high-speed broadband public data services to, masses in general and public at large. And here, Spectrum is considered as one of the key issues for driving the infrastructure growth, considering especially the industry as well as General Coaches mentioned that yes, there are a lot of ROW issues. There are continuous efforts from the government as well as the state governments, especially how do we drive this collaborative effort. But we also looking at how the new technologies, how the wireless technologies are going to what's called impact and facilitate rollout of these services in a most cost effective as well as a quicker manner. Because despite efforts what we may do with ROW, considering the on-ground realities, because the development is ongoing and new infrastructures emerging and urban landscape keep changing. So some issue or some degree ROW issues will continue to be there. But however, our interest is that how do we minimize the transaction cost? How do we minimize the delays and time taken for rolling out? But however, we can also bring in new technologies and services. The one thing what I want to mention here is about when we look at FWA kind of services in 5G, which could give an immediate impact in providing broadband services to the people who are uncovered, as well as where there is a feasibility issue for the service providers. That is one thing what I want to immediately mention. Of course, you are all aware already the BharatNet program as well as USOF tenders, where many of the districts where there is a coverage is a challenge. There is a kind of new public private partnership program, how the operators have been invited to participate in those tenders to cover the uncovered villages. That is the second part what you can look at. And of course, we are also seeing a lot of enthusiasm with regard to new technologies and products which are homegrown, where there is a lot of interest to roll out a cost-effective digital telecommunication infrastructure. I'm saying that right now, as we see the market reports in terms of affordability of service and in terms of cost of the network deployment, in comparison to the world, I was told it is very cost effective in India compared to the other global markets. To make them more effective, more I should say affordable, yes, there are also efforts from telecom service providers as well as industry members to promote and to encourage the Indian technology products. That is one thing what I also want to mention. One thing I fully agree that collaboration is the key, especially when you roll out the public telecommunication infrastructure. Especially Gatishakti is one such example where all the stakeholders, all the infrastructure agencies, as well as the economic verticals brought together to look at what way they can provide access to those zones, as well as provide the state-of-the-art communication infrastructure within the zones. And coming to the public at large, the new licensing as well as technology model, you're all aware PM Vani program, to make it what's called outside the box of licensing and other levy regime. Anybody can start a PM Vani PD owned, he can start providing public Wi-Fi services. This is one thing what I request all of us to, all the stakeholders to take it in a big way, because the lot of what's called exemptions as well as concessions have been given to the program to convert into a mega program to especially to address the digital divide. And of course, there are many other things with regard to technology front, like this technology innovation group for 6G and 5G use case labs, announcement from the government to work with other ministries as well as other stakeholders, including TSPs, and ongoing 5G technology trials from the TSPs, where many of the new use cases as well as the new Indian products as well as global products are being deployed to really address uncovered domains as well as unaddressed challenges as well as productivity enhancement delivery mechanisms. These are all the more new things which are in, I should say, ongoing. I'm sure that 5G technology deployment, in the coming months is going to really contribute not only to the voice and data revenues of the operators who really are looking for good investments, but also to the B2B revenues with new verticals of vertical revenue streams, which is going to contribute to them. I'm sure that investment is very key, where we need to facilitate with the way government has done in terms of the telecom reforms as well as the other facilitating measures, including spectrum for R&D and experimentation, etc., will contribute it in big way. And once again, through this forum, I also want to thank the industry, the kind of leadership they have demonstrated, both mobile service providers, ISPs, as well as all the stakeholders, including OEMs, and as well as the think tanks, how they are generating a kind of collaborative thinking, thought leadership, so that we are all on the same page to address the challenges and take forward the priorities. Thank you very much, Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Mr. Kishore. And I'm sure, I think the way I think Department of Telecommunications is enabling this technology adoption, I could see that in terms of creating this 5G ecosystem in the country. DOT has taken several initiatives to uh, test and put these technologies into the best usage for the country. And also, I think recently that BharatNet program, as you mentioned, is also one example where there is an encouragement to use multiple technologies, because ultimate aim is to reach the connectivity, the unconnected people faster. Not necessarily you need to have one mindset. I think it's definitely displayed in the recent times how the leadership is thinking in terms of promoting new technologies. So thank you for your insights. Let me call upon Mr. Rajat Mukherjee, Director General for Broadband India Forum. Rajat Saab, so given the fact that there is no provision for laying of, let's say, sharing of infrastructure today, especially when it comes to fiber optic communication lines, so common duct along the roads, uh, which is missing in the country as a policy, which eventually results into digging the roads repeatedly, and it's a loss of, I think, resources, and it's a great loss to nation. Uh, what do you think in the current context of, let's say, propelling this digital infrastructure? What ought to be the role of integrated policies which can enforce that, let's say, that infrastructure sharing, especially when it comes to laying the fiber along the all kinds of physical infrastructure that getting built in the country in support of broadband rollout. What are your thoughts, Mr. Rajat, on this?
Thank you, Mr. Rao, and thank you for inviting me for this discussion this afternoon. I'm glad that this discussion is being held, not because there are a large number of people who can contribute to the discussion, but also because there are a large number of issues which need to be resolved, and people over here will be able to provide solutions. There is no question about the fact that fiberization of the towers is the primary objective of the policymakers, and even the NDCP has articulated that very well. There are problems, but I think in those areas where there are problems in terms of laying of the fiber or repeated digging, etc., we have to fall back on alternate options, and one alternate option is high bandwidth spectrum. V-band is characterized as approximately from 57 gigahertz to 71 gigahertz, the total band. But at the lower band, there is an aspect of high, what's it called, oxygenation in that particular band, which lends itself to not being used in an open space for long distances too efficiently or effectively. So that particular band can be used internally within the house for short-range devices and such like. But the top end of the band, the extended V band, which is in the 6 to 71 gigahertz range, could easily be allocated to the TSPs for this kind of a backhaul situation. And so if you have a problem faced in a particular area, then you have an alternate solution to be able to trunk it. Because this particular band is got a very high capacity capability and is a good alternate to fiber in the ground. Secondly, there's no question about the fact that as we head towards 5G and additional spectrum band which will be allocated to the operators, we need to get into additional types of towers and radios through the use of street furniture. We need to get into things like indoor cells. We need to get into FTTX, all kinds of wireless access for the last mile. All these are, it's a package of goods. It's not just fiber and access spectrum. Combination of a whole host of various other activities which will lead us towards the next generation of connectivity. And fiber is extremely important, but it is not the only connecting source. We have plenty of other options and those might need to be explored. Back to you.
Good. I think it's a very important point. I think, Mr. Ajay, that you brought in that fiberization is key, but there is a whole sum of things that we need to focus if you have to really leverage this infrastructure to the ultimate purpose that is being set for. I agree that this requires an industry, academia, and then government collaboration. It's going to be very important today. I think I've seen this in the advent of 5G evaluation coming in India. There's so much discussions happening, and it requires a holistic thought process of enabling all sides of this game. It's not necessarily one part of it. And just wanted to draw any attention on one of the specific thing that I just brought to your attention is about creating this, let's say, fiberization along the infrastructure that is being built other than the telecom side. India builds, let's say today there is a huge focus in the last 5 years. India would have built new roads and highways in the interest of physical infrastructure, which is definitely there is a vision for government to create this transportation and communicate connectivity very important in terms of logistics and people safety and their commuting needs. There is a huge amount of infrastructure spend is happening. But when it comes to that infrastructure, they consider still as a physical infrastructure. There is no digitalization of these highways. Essentially, if you look at any of the countries like US and developed countries, all highways and roadways are being digitalized right from day one. And what are your take on this? Do you have any recommendations around? Should government look at bringing some policy around that? What's your viewpoint on that?
Thank you, Mr. Rao. This is a continuation of the same point, and thank you for prodding me in that direction. Actually, I think there is some kind of a direction and a directive with regard to National Highways Authority of India placing ducts on the side. But I don't know to the extent to which it is being implemented in all the new the point I think that you're really talking about gives you an indication of the importance of the involvement of several different other ministries in the entire process.
Yeah.
I referred to the use of indoor small cells. Now, in order for that to happen, we have been working along with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development to try and make sure that this is put into the building blocks as part of the standards for any future building which comes up. It must have some kind of fiberization there. It must have the ability to be able to create an environment where indoor cells can be connected. Similarly, the National Highways Authority and the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways must have some kind of an understanding and a symbiotic relationship with the Department of Communications for this particular activity. I think it exists in some form of a directive, but it probably is not being implemented across the board. I'm so glad that you brought it up because this is an important point, Mr. Rao, and needs to be kept in the back of our mind. It just makes it that much more important for all the various ministries in the government to be able to be on the same page to ensure that the infrastructure building is not wasted.
Absolutely excellent. So thank you, Mr. Rajat. And let me invite Dr. Bhattacharya, and is leading the Center for Digital Economy Policy Research. So a very important aspect of this entire digital infrastructure and economic impact of how digital infrastructure can create for the country's development. So Dr. Bhattacharya, given the significant value that we all know that broadband infrastructure is creating, both to connectivity needs as well as economic impact in the country, would you like to bring certain innovative mechanisms that probably can accelerate this rollout of broadband in the country, infrastructure in the country, both from an infrastructure as well as from an adoption perspective?
Right. So let me first start by saying the disclaimer that I'm not really putting an industry view, but more of a think tank view, which means that there's more of blue sky thinking. I'll start off from where Rajat Mukherjee left off in terms of alignment of infrastructure when they're getting rolled out. Now, absolutely, there is Gati Shakti, and absolutely, there was a meeting of the various ministries and departments who are involved in infrastructure, both digital and physical infrastructure. But at the end of the day, is it really synchronized rollout? Am I having one single RFP for rolling out the roads, the linear assets, and which means railways, roads, gas pipelines, power pipelines, along with the fiber? I'm not having that. I'm having two different RFPs. That there itself is a problem. So once the infrastructure is rolled out, I'm again spending effort and national cost in digging a trench or putting a fiber and so on and so forth. If I do it the first time itself, my cost is only an incremental cost. It's a very little additional cost. And I can really fiberize the entire length and breadth of the country, along with the gas pipelines, the road lines, railway lines, power lines, and so on. In addition, I would also like to say that when we're building the international highways across Northeast into Myanmar, into Thailand, and so on, we should be putting the fibers over there also, because if you look at a really funny situation that we're in, we can call from here to US at perhaps a couple of rupees a minute. From here to Bangladesh or here to Thailand or Myanmar, it costs 30, 40 rupees a minute. That is not acceptable. Now we are looking at trade happening and we are saying, look east, it has to be followed with the linear assets that we are rolling out. So that's one thing. There has been huge amount of effort done by the government. I think we need to now move it to the next stage where we have integrated RFPs coming out. The second, if I look at again the issue that Lieutenant General Kochhar pointed out right in the beginning, that there is ROWs being put in and there are many other levies, directly or indirectly, that come in from the state government and the local government, which is the municipalities and panchayats, onto rolling out of the digital infrastructure. If we can change the way the state governments see the benefit coming out of it and not look at it as front-loaded one-time payment coming out, but perhaps look at it as maybe a bit of a revenue share post facto and not putting impedance up front. Again, my disclaimer was this is not the industry view, this is more of a think tank view. So that would ensure that the risks are mitigated and we have a faster rollout of fiber and there is an alignment of interest. Whereas if you front load it, there is no alignment of interest. It's classically saying it's cutting the goose that lays the golden eggs. So if I don't let the goose lay the golden eggs, there will not be any infrastructure getting rolled out. There will be less industry happening. And therefore, as a government, I'll receive less taxes, but subsequently. And I will rue that moment much later at the cost of the industry getting harmed. The third part of it that I want to put on the table is again related to risks. When the private sector rolls out fiber, there is enormous amount of risk getting involved because, will I get the right of way? I'll probably invest 80% of the money, put the fiber in, but I really can't complete the loop. And therefore, I will start, getting or incurring the ICD, the interest component of debt onto that project. And if I'm not able to actually, roll it out quickly, I'll not be able to get revenues. And therefore, the project becomes a debt project. In a country where we obviously have made huge amount of progress, but there is much more that needs to be done in terms of rolling out of broadband, where we need to probably roll out at 10 times the pace that we are doing right now. Can we look at mechanisms where we have a third-party large entity in the form of, let's say, the structure used by NPCI or many of these other hybrid organizations like CSC, e-governance centers, which are apparently government entities, but they have the freedom to really run it in a tight manner like a private sector. And they kind of take up the responsibility to roll out fiber at a much, much accelerated pace, taking in funds from any governmental institutions or financial institution, and subsequently move into a TOT asset recycling phase where they can sell it off to the private sector completely. That way, the risk gets mitigated. And once the risk gets mitigated, the cost also comes down dramatically. The consumption of fiber, consumption of broadband, rolling out of services gets much more accelerated. And at the end of the day, the government actually gains out of it because it converts the lowered risk into monetization through the TOT asset recycling process. So those were the few quick things that we at Center for Digital Economy Policy Research believe would help. And those are aspects that could be deliberated on in a workshop like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. Very important aspects of various mechanisms that can propel broadband infrastructure in the country. So before I sum it up, I just wanted to draw attention to one area where probably Mr. Kishore can put on some thoughts is, I think we are all agreeing that the digital infrastructure required to be built. I think in the current times, the government is doing a lot of initiatives, industries are coming forward to build this. But at the same time, I think, Mr. Kishore, you touched on this point around the technologies are evolving. India has an opportunity to leapfrog today on the technology roadmap to see and invest in the right quality of infrastructure, so that what happened in the last 2 decades to our current generation should not be again be put for the next generation, because the quality of infrastructure actually impacts a lot of things, as we discussed. The role of a government, the role of a regulatory, and role of industry, I think, in terms of making sure that these technologies are put upfront and we decide in the right pace. So towards this, I think currently, since a lot of initiatives the Department of Telecom is doing, what are your thoughts in terms of making sure that India, whether it is a government investment or a private investment, must have standards in which there must be some guarding rail to say that India must have a minimum quality infrastructure? Any thoughts around on the quality and the standards of infrastructure that are to be built in the next 5 to 10 years time?
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you. Just to, to recap the context, what you are asking is about with regard to technology development in the country, and as well as a lot of new budding or, that enthusiastic ecosystem, and how they are progressing towards standardization, so that we'll be having a standardized products and solutions. I really appreciate that, because that's an area as the country we should look at next, growing from a user market to a developing as well as developing as well as the producing market, not only for the domestic operators, but also for the global companies. It's a very interesting and as well as important question, especially taking government's vision under Atmanirbharta, and also thinking local and serving global, as well as what way NDCP's objectives, which clearly speaks about what is the DOT or telecom policy could do for enhancing the value addition in global supply chain. There is a clear mandate on that, there should be every effort to do that. To begin with, I should say that, maybe if I recall 7 or 8 years back, maybe I should say in the beginning of 2010, there used to be some inputs from operators saying that, okay, we want to develop some, not operators, sorry, this is the global OEMs in India. We are planning to build some product in India in our lab, but because the spectrum is not open, we are unable to bring that work to India, which we could have impacted maybe in terms of not having a quality work to somebody else, leaving it to somebody else, or not getting, more kind of new innovation centers in the country. You all may be aware that in 2019, the DOT came out with a transformative R&D and as well as a manufacturing framework where spectrum is assigned for those purposes. I should say that I think considering the limited search what I have done in the different countries activities, how they are encouraging with the wireless R&D by offering spectrum at affordable as well as with zero transaction cost, perhaps India figures stop in that, because in India spectrum has been fully liberalized for R&D and manufacturing and demo for industry. Anybody can claim the spectrum on website, go to the portal, give the details and pay 5,000 rupees, which is almost like $70 for a 1 year cost. There's no restriction on the quantum of spectrum in a band. You can claim per band is only 5,000 rupees per year. Just take the printout and you can start working with the limited power so that you don't interfere with others. I'm saying about this is available across all the bands for any academia, startup, SME, or any entity who is working on R&D or manufacturing, indoor demos or testing. This has done a kind of triggered a tremendous, what's called scope and opportunity for the companies, where they can invest more time in the productive work than going for, regulatory compliance and, avoiding the compliance challenges. Even this, of course, though the order was released in 2019 in June, now it has been brought online as well from June this year, 2021. It has been made online, so anybody fill up the details. It also permits, very important thing, and I also want to what's called disseminate this information to many others who are listening, as well as who are the thought leaders here. Not only the license for spectrum, this also enables importing necessary products and modules for doing the R&D without any import license. It frees away from import license burden. And next thing is, it also allows something called, I can go and do the demo for indoors in any other campus, in any other academic institution or customer premises, even that comes built in. It also gets built in for holding the wireless equipment, because there were certain licensing requirements were there. Even that has been liberalized. So this license is like a bundled license with that available at a mouse click away to get this license, and you can start work on this front. This is one important thing what I want to convey to you. Second thing is with regard to standards development part. Yes, you might have heard about in the recent press news that there are talks about 5GI and 5G working together to come as a kind of integrated standard. That's a good development. TSDSA is pursuing at the international level, how globally we can have a kind of common standards, they can work together. And you might have heard about something called 1M 2M standard, where Indian stakeholders along with TSDSA, TEC and CDOT, they have contributed significantly how investments can be saved by having standardized devices, standardized platform, especially for the smart city deployment and IoT rollout. These are some of the measures which are significantly happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kishore, for providing this insight. So I think we have a very few minutes left before we conclude. So first of all, I think let me compliment every panelist for bringing a frank and an opinion in terms of what is needed for the country. One thing that I've seen common across all the panelists talking about is a model of shared digital infrastructure along with the Gati Shakti. That's prominently is one of the thing came up as a point for recommendation. And this will not only, I think, synchronize the planning, but also definitely assist in the vision for a broadband for all. That's going to be important action that probably we need to take it forward. And I think all of us have agreed that as a part of the discussion that the country needs robust digital infrastructure to achieve the next phase of growth. There is no doubt around that, because it has a direct correlation between broadband and GDP. It has been proved, and it has been statistically it is made available. And so there is a reason to believe that broadband infrastructure will definitely propel the growth of the country. I think it's not only about connectivity, it's also the infrastructure can increase the efficiencies of government, various development initiatives. Additionally, I think digital infra is the common underlying criticality in the currently in terms of the way that digital applications in agriculture, healthcare, and education are actually coming post this pandemic. I think we've talked about government role and in industry role and in terms of creating the digital infrastructure. So I believe that fundamentally that government will have a role to play, and their dedicated funding mechanisms will help to create this infrastructure similar to what's happening in the road and power and other infrastructure side. And as I think there is also, I think, per capita fiberization or fiberization of towers is something that India is still required to go a long way. And keeping this 5G ecosystem evolving, we need to look at not only simple fiberization, but also we need to look at the whole system at large. And we need to debottleneck all those as we move along. And that's going to be very important, a critical part. I think considering the geography and then the population, I think the demand is growing, and the challenges associated with connecting the unconnected are still, I think, is a big mammoth task for us. I think while we do this infrastructure rollout, we need to definitely, as we just discussed, creation of this infrastructure with a quality in mind, and evolving technology in mind is very, very critical. And that's where I think this may require a huge capital investments. That's where government and private sector are required to collaborate more, and that's where government having a dedicated funds will actually enable this rollout faster. I think if you look at it anywhere that if you are to really grow at a growth rate of 9 to 10% year on year for next few years, and it is not possible without going digital. So it's not only about creating infrastructure, but also there has to be emphasis in creating adoption, also creating content so that the usage actually becomes, there is a push and pull in making the digital networks are being created as well as being used. I think this will not only, I think, bring the divide, what we spoke about urban and rural getting at us, but it also brings a huge industrial revolution and also propel the economic growth of the country. That's what we see in all sectors. Digital economy, if you look at it in the $5 trillion model, currently digital sector contributes to $300 billion. It is expected to be $1,000 billion in terms, 1 trillion contribution to the 5 trillion economy, which is going to be in whatever the government has a vision about 2025 at 5 trillion economy. So I think putting all things together, that all the initiatives that government has taken so far has been very well appreciated, and we just need to focus on making sure that whatever the initiative that we are currently being focused are actually taken to the right spirit and in end objectives. And that's where I think the country will definitely see a change in terms of creating this, how the broadband infrastructure can be created. We spoke about certain low-hanging fruits, like say ROW policy was announced in 2016, but it is not kind of, let's say, kind of adopted in the right spirit. Maybe we need to get state governments to align better. So these are some of the execution, I would say, best learnings that we have in implementing any of the policy in the country. Probably those can be a good learnings for us to take it forward as we start implementing the new initiatives in the country to create this broadband, quality broadband for all. So with this, I conclude the panel today, and thank you everyone for joining this interesting panel, and all panelists, thank you very much for sparing your valuable time and providing your insights on this subject.
Rao, with your permission, may I just respond to one of the queries which has come up in the chat group?
Please.
I noticed that there's a query on the use of satellite usage.
Yes,
I just wanted to also add that as we head into 5G is a very clear move from a terrestrial based communication system to include satellite as well. And satellite policy is already an implementation by the government, and it's soon to see the light of day. And that will play a complementary role in the existing infrastructure which exists at a terrestrial level. Just wanted to place that on the record since the panelists has asked for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Thank you, everyone. So all the best, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Thank you, Kishore Babu.